Hello, you're watching another edition of City Beat. I'm your host, Tamika Keenan Norman, and we have what I think is a very interesting show for you today. It's a two-segment show. Police Chief James Moore is going to join us a little bit later. If you've read the Rocky Mount Telegram, you've read about the department's latest crime statistics shared from 2015. So he's going to expound on that, as well as how the department is involved in the community. Fire Chief Mike Varnell is coming on a little later to talk about the accomplishments of the Rocky Mount Fire Department within the past year. And I think he's only been at the helm for a year, so he's going to talk a little bit about his experiences as well. So stay tuned. More of City Beat is coming up next. Plus, I've got details on upcoming events. This is City Beat.
Last year, farmers in Nash and Edgecombe counties raised $420 million from selling crops and livestock. Agriculture continues to be of growing importance in the Twin Counties.
If you know that last year over 100,000 folks saw a play, attended a concert, or visited a museum in Nash and Edgecombe counties, give yourself a round of applause.
Know how many babies were born in the Twin Counties last year? My son Carr has 9,100 playmates who were born in Nash and Edgecombe counties last year.
Hello and welcome to City Beat. We are your central source of news and information for the city of Rocky Mount. I'm your host, Tamika Keenan Norman, and we've got two segments to today's show. We're going to speak a little later with Fire Chief Mike Varnell. And right now we've got Police Chief James Moore with us to talk about a report he actually gave to the Rocky Mount City Council a couple months ago, I think, about the crime stats as well as your department's community engagement efforts. So welcome to City Beat.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show today. I want you to expound a little bit on those crime stats, your department's findings for 2015, because we know we always go to the previous year, right?
Right. Well, I reported to the City Council that in 2015, overall, we had a very good year in reducing crime in the city of Rocky Mount. We had a 15% reduction in property crime, 16% reduction in violent crime, and 16% reduction overall with a combination of property and violent crime.
Okay, so sounds good. How does that relate to crime for 2014? Because I know that you had, that was your year for the lowest number of index crimes, well actually in 35 years that you had. And explain a little bit what index crimes are for those who aren't subject matter experts on this.
Index is just a Part 1 crime, the crime that the SBI, State Bureau of Investigation, measures. And that's crimes such as your break-ins, burglaries, your larcenies, your robberies and assaults. Okay. And 2015, it appears that we had a very good year. And the reductions that I gave were in compared to 14. There were the reductions from 14. And 14 was one of the best years that the city's had within the last 35 years. And in 15, we edged that up a notch, and it was the best year or the lowest crime in the city within the last 37 years. Okay.
What do you attribute that to, some of the successes that you've had since you've been with the department, 2012, right? Would you attribute it to community engagement efforts, or is it a mix of different things?
It's a mix of several different things. It's a mix of the policing philosophy that we've brought to the agency and how we engage the community. It's utilizing training and technology and understanding crime and looking at crime trends across the country and reacting to them very quickly.
Speaking of community engagement efforts, I know people should be familiar with Coffee with a Cop and Summer Night Lights, but I think you all started something recently with Coffee with a Cop where you were visiting area churches, right?
Yes, we expanded Coffee with a Cop from the morning time at local restaurants to penetrating churches during the evenings, and that's a series that we've been carrying on for about the past 5 months. We're going to continue that series until the summer, and we usually take a break during the summer months.
And I'd imagine it was really successful with the churches.
Yes, seems to be that we were well received at every church that we went to.
Lunch with a Cop. I think that's something brand new that you've started in February, right?
Yes. Lunch with a Cop is, we looked at the 7 elementary schools within the city limits, and during the lunch periods at the 7 elementary schools, we sent officers out to eat lunch during the entire lunch period with the various groups of elementary school students. And the students enjoyed it, and it was a successful run.
Do you plan on bringing that back?
We don't know. We evaluate our initiatives, and we don't bring back initiatives just because we've done it before. We look at the penetration and look at, can we have an impact in the future on an initiative.
Okay. You talked a little bit about training as well. That's been helping the department too. What's been some of those most successful training efforts that you've implemented since you've been here?
Well, I think when you look at training, it's very important to me. Training all of our people, all of our officers and several of our civilian employees in implicit bias training, I think was one of the landmark decisions. And this past year, we put all of our sworn officers through de-escalation training, which is a buzzword in contemporary lexicon today. And over the years, really focusing on management and executive leadership training.
Okay. Any other goals that you have for 2016, immediate goals for the department?
You know, my goal for 2016 is the same goal I've had for the last 30 years, and that's just to make a difference by enhancing the quality of life.
And we know that there's more progress to be made, but how do you feel thus far about what's been accomplished?
I think we've done a yeoman's job. In spite of our circumstances. When I say circumstances, I'm talking about the socioeconomic conditions of the local area as far as unemployment, poverty, and the education system. In spite of that, we've had some outstanding results as a police department in our relationship building with the community.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to add, Chief Moore?
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on City Beat as well, okay?
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in. Also, Fire Chief Mike Varnell is coming in just a few moments to tell us about some of the successes with the fire department. And also, I'll give you some updates on events taking place in the city of Rocky Mount. You're watching City Beat.
Know why the Twin Counties was named the most charitable area in North Carolina? It's because the generous folks of Edgecombe and Nash gave $120 million to charities last year.
Do you know how many children play in teams in the Twin Counties? Well, 2,500 kids are learning to be good sports in athletic leagues all across Nash and Edgecombe.
If you're seeking a house of worship in the Twin Counties, count your blessings, because in Nash and Edgecombe, there are 263 churches serving 45 different denominations.
Hello and welcome back to City Beat. I'm your host, Tamika Keenan Norman, and if you're just tuning in to the show today, it's all about public safety. We do want to thank Police Chief James Moore for coming in and telling us about some of the crime stats and some of their community engagement efforts of the police department. And right now joining us is Fire Chief Mike Varnell to expound on the accomplishments and successes of the fire department. How are you?
Great, Tamika. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Glad to see you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, and you know, I was thinking about you the other day. I was like, has Mike been on the job for a year yet? How long have you?
Well, I was named interim in January of last year, and then sworn in March. So
it's right at a year.
So we're right at a year.
Time flies.
It does. This has been the fastest year of my career.
Yeah. Now, I was just talking about, you know, some of the successes of your department. You presented with the Rocky Mount City Council, their committee of the whole meeting not too long ago. You talked about community engagement efforts, which I don't think a lot of people think of with the fire department. What are some of your community engagement efforts?
Well, to start off, I mean, people think fire departments are reactive, but we really try to be proactive. So we try to reach out and engage the community. We engage over 12,000 people per year through our engagement opportunities. A lot of different avenues. We do a lot of public education, fire education, fire drills, puppet shows, tours, fire extinguisher training, child passenger safety seat clinics, all kinds of things like that. But then we do group stuff like Citizens Fire Academy. We have some youth programs that we engage in, Boys and Girls Club. It's a mentor program. We go over and spend some time with the boys and girls in the evenings, helping them with homework, activities, whatever the case may be. We have a great little program at Williford Elementary called Williford Leadership Council. That's when we bring in community leaders to share with those fifth graders and kind of get them, bridge the gap and get them ready for middle school, so to speak, or junior high. And then we have a program at Northern Nash High School called the Northern Nash Explorer Program. That's where we expose high school students to fire service and what it's about and what it entails, and kind of educates them a little bit about what they maybe can do one day as a career. And then probably one of our most popular ones is the Rocky Mount High program. It's a firefighter certification program at Rocky Mount High, where we actually have an instructor there that's employed by the school system that teaches certification to those kids or to those students. They can gain certification and get ready for a career in the fire service. We have a liaison, fire training officer, Pete Weaver. He goes and works with them as well. We provide equipment, and this coming year we're going to actually surplus a fire engine and be able to donate a fire engine to the school, so they have their own fire engine as well. So really neat thing going on there. It's a great outreach, and it's a great engagement for our community.
That sounds really good. Let's expound on that a little bit more with the high school. How many students do you have involved in that program, and how can they get involved?
Well, it's like a trade. You have carpentry and auto mechanics and home ec, those kinds of things, nurse aid, that kind of stuff. Well, this is what this firefighter program is. They have about 65 kids currently in the program. That number ebbs and flows a little bit with the enrollment, of course, at the school. But those kids can go in. It's a 4-year program, and they can take a class a year or 2 classes a year. And when they get through in the end of their senior year, they will have 90% of what they need to enter the fire service as a career firefighter.
Okay, so they'll still, when they get out, they'll have to take a few additional classes.
It's a live burn stuff you can't do till you're 18. There's a few little things that they have to do when they're 18, but they're really close to being ready to go to work.
Okay, so I don't know when you started, but have you seen it through the entire process with any one student?
We're in year 3 right now.
Okay.
But we did just hire a young lady from that program, our first, and she's actually in Nash's program right now, completing her certifications. So we're very excited about that. It's a great minority recruitment effort as well, because Rocky Mount High is an inner city school. That's where a lot of minority kids go. So it's a great target for us to help with minority recruitment.
Okay. Now, Kim Wittig was on the show, actually our previous show, talking about the Citizens Fire Academy. Tell us a little bit about what that is as well, just to remind folks.
It's just a bank of classes to kind of get citizens involved. They come in not knowing a whole lot about the fire department at all, and when they leave, we have advocates for our city and for our organization. They learn all the different things that we do. They learn all the programs and services that we deliver. And we let them get a little hands-on as well. You know, they do the fire extinguisher training. They do some CPR training. They get to go. This last class, I actually was able to take them to a working fire. And they actually saw a fire burning and saw the guys in action. And they had a lot of questions. And they learned a lot. And it's really, really a good program for the citizens to learn more about our city organization.
And I don't know if you would consider this community engagement, but my experience with the fire department has been with car seats. You know, because I have a 15-month-old.
Right.
So I went there. Your guys taught me how to put in that car seat. And even when you turned it around after he turned 1, they showed me exactly what to do. Because so many people have them in incorrectly.
It's a great program where our guys train. That's what a lot of people get it confused. They think, well, I go in, they put the car seat for me, and I pull away. But it's more of an education. We train you how to put it in. That way, when you change cars or you buy a new seat, you can actually, you know the proper way to put it in.
Exactly.
Because I think 90-some% of the ones that are put in by parents are put in incorrectly. So.
Well, they were very nice, very helpful as well.
It saves a lot of lives that we really can't document, because you don't know the lives that we did save in that, but we know it saves lives.
Now, your community engagement efforts, do you feel that they help to create more awareness or even better recruitment for the department?
Absolutely. They make everybody more aware of what we're doing, what we're about. It kind of breaks down some walls, some barriers, to let them inside of our organization and see what we're all about, and see that our people are good people and professionals and really engaged in our community and invested in our community. So it's helped our recruitment efforts a lot as well. Okay. As I'll speak more about as we go.
Okay. And speaking of what you're all about, I think sometimes, you've been on the show before and we discussed this, but I do want to remind folks, because when you think about the fire department, you think about fire suppression, and that's it.
Right.
You're talking about community engagement, but what else is the department responsible for?
Well, fire is our thing. I mean, that's what everybody knows us by. But, we run over 10,000 calls for service a year. Well, 80% of those calls are emergency medical in nature. So heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, all those kinds of things we go to are a lot of medical. So we do a lot of medical training, a lot of hours spent in the medical field. Motor vehicle crashes, gas leaks, rescue events, trauma events, domestic situations. There's a lot of different things we do and go to. Fire, like you said, is our calling card, but really out of that 10,000 calls, only about 1,800 are actually fires. And actually less than 1% of those are actually working fires. So a very small amount of our time, but a lot of resources and a lot of time spent training for that, but only a small amount of what we actually do is fire.
That's good to know. Speaking of your responsibilities, one of the things that you touched on at that city council meeting was emergency medical assistance. Saved a lot of lives in 2015, right?
We measure, as an accredited organization, we measure everything we do pretty much. There's a lot of ways to measure. There's a lot of things we can't measure. I mean, you can't measure when you go to a car wreck and you extricate someone pretty quick and intervene medically. That person may have went into cardiac arrest if we hadn't done that. So you can't really measure that, but things we can measure are cardiac arrest upon arrival. So if we go to someone's home and they're not breathing, do not have a pulse, that is what we call on-scene arrival cardiac arrest. We average about 100 of those a year. And in 2015, we actually, 12 of those 100 were actually transported with a pulse and breathing. So that's about a 12% save rate, you would say. There's a lot of variables that go into that. How long did that person, were they down before we got there? You know, if it's been a 20 or 30 minute time limit, more than likely you're not gonna get that person back. But if we can get there within that first 6 to 8 minutes after that person's been down, there's a good chance that we can get them back. And hopefully they have some quality of life thereafter.
And that's an industry best standard. Well, no, we're going to go to that in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
I did want to touch on the fact that my other dealing with the fire department has been some of the CPR and AED classes that you all have taught here at City Hall.
Yeah, we had about 3 years ago, we got a public access defibrillator grant through ICMA. We actually placed 151 automatic defibrillators in public places on 125 different sites, so that's huge. We also trained over 4,000 people in hands-on CPR and AED. So 3 years ago, there was not those planes were not in place. Those people were not trained. So that has an effect on that save rate as well. When we get there on scene, there's somebody already doing CPR. They have a defibrillator put on. It makes all the difference in the world in the save rate.
Let's go back to what I mistakenly said before. Your industry best standard was instead on property saved,
Right.
which you touched on. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, in our industry, we measure the amount of property we go to that's on fire. Last year, we had $28.7 million worth of property on fire, and we were able to save over $27.7 million. So a city our size, 43 square miles, right at 60,000 people, in a 12-month calendar, we were able to have less than $1 million in loss, which is really, really good. The industry benchmark or the industry goal is 90% save rate. Very few fire departments reach that rate. We're actually at 97% for 2015, so we're very excited about that. We're very excited about the efforts that our guys put forth to make that happen on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of variables go into that. Over 35,000 hours of training go into making those guys as professional as they possibly can be. Location of stations, reliability of equipment, all those things kind of go into that. Dispatch center from the police department, they're part of that equation as well, getting us out quickly, our turnout times and our locations as I spoke of. All those things vary into that because on fires you have about an 8 minute, it's almost like cardiac arrest. 8 minutes is kind of the golden time we want to get there within.
Okay.
Fire's about the same thing. You want to be there within 8 minutes because a fire could start from infant stage to flashover in 8 minutes. And when you have a flashover, then it's more likely you involve the whole structure. So we want to get there as soon as we can to make intervention and make that situation better.
So you've really got to be on it then.
We do.
8 minutes passes fairly quickly.
It does.
Yeah.
And we do very well with that. We're around the 7 minute mark. That's from Mrs. Jones picking up the phone. That turnout, that call processing time through dispatch. Our turnout time from the time we get the call to the time wheels are rolling, and then that travel time from the time the wheels roll to the time we put the brake on at Mrs. Jones's house. So we're at about the 7 minute mark, and that's an industry best practice as well. So we do really well in that area.
Wow. We talked about recruitment a little earlier. Let's go back to that because one of the things you started, which I thought was really great, you started not long after you became fire chief, was your open house.
Right.
First time you had done this ever, right?
It's something we're very involved. A lot of us are very involved locally, regionally, state level, and even on a national level. So when you do this, you get to interact with a lot of professionals in our industry, and you get to see the industry best practices. That is an industry best practice to have open house recruitment fairs or open houses. So we started doing that this year. We had one right prior to our hiring process and one during the hiring process. And what it did from 2014 numbers to 2015 numbers, it increased our eligible candidates by 125%. So that was huge. So not only did it increase the numbers, but it gave us a better diversity. So we just hired probably the most diverse group we've hired in probably 10 or 12 years. So Very, very good thing to put in place, but it's because we have that opportunities to go out and see industry best practices.
Okay, and when you say open house event, what are some of the things that you talk to people about who attend?
Well, we kind of, like I said, about breaking those walls down, those barriers. People, say they go by that fire station every day, but they've never been inside of it, they don't know. So we welcome them in. We have all our staff there. It's a very friendly environment. We have a nice PowerPoint presentation. We have several command officers. I speak with them. Several other people speak with them and kind of let them know what the process is all about. So they don't know what to do. They're kind of scared. We break all those walls down and let them know step by step what they need to do. We offer them help. We kind of mentor them through that process.
Gotcha.
Because a lot of people apply. You get 300 or 400 applications, but to get to the final stage, to get to the strength and agility and all that stuff, you have to have all these things taken care of. And sometimes they don't get there, but through this mentoring, through this open house, we were able to help these people get to that step, which gave us more candidates to look at.
I think it was a great idea. Are you doing it again?
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
we're going to continue to do that. I think it was very well. It was very, for the effort, it don't take a lot of effort on our part to do it, just to advertise and be there willing to do it that day, and it's really helped us.
Sounds
So we'll
good.
definitely do it.
One of the things that you started this year as well was your mobile marketing campaign, the texting.
Yes, we did. Thanks to you, we were able to put that in place not long ago. And it's everybody's tech savvy now. Everybody's on their phones, and that's how they communicate through social media in different ways. So it's very simple. You just text RM Fire to 55469, and what it does is it actually signs you up on your phone to hear about news or events or initiatives that we're putting out. You'll be the first to know, and it keeps you in touch with your fire department.
Yeah, so we encourage folks to sign up for that.
Absolutely. It's a great program.
Anything else you want to mention?
It's just, I just want the community to know how much effort our guys put into, and I say guys, I mean guys and girls, how much effort we put into making our community a better and safer place. We're very committed to continuous improvement. We put a lot of effort into that, and we really want to make the community a better place to be. And we thank them for their support, because without their support and city council support, we couldn't do the things we do. So it's a team effort, and that's kind of what we try to embrace.
Well, thank you so much, Chief, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Chief Michael Varnell with the Rocky Mount Fire Department. Don't forget what he said. Text RM Fire to 55469 to find out fire department events, initiatives, etc. We definitely want to keep you in the loop. And coming up in just a few moments, I've got some news and other details about upcoming events and initiatives. I'm Tamika Keenan Norman, and this is City Beat.
How many entrepreneurs took the leap and opened their own companies in the Twin Counties last year? 120 did, because we're really getting down to business in Edgecombe and Nash counties.
How many nationally famous artists are natives of the Twin Counties? 25 writers, singers, musicians, and actors took their very first bows right here in Edgecombe and Nash counties.
94 civic leaders, politicians, educators, doctors, scientists, musicians, and sportsmen have all been inducted into the Twin Counties Hall of Fame. Come see them all at the train station.
Hello and welcome back to City Beat. Now, before I end today's show, I did want to let you know about some of our upcoming events, including First Friday. We have a few more months for that event. It's taking place every first Friday of the month at the Imperial Center for the Arts and Sciences from 6 until 9 p.m. May will include live folk and old-time country music, free kids crafts, face painting, and so much more. For details, visit imperialcenter.org, or you can call 252-972-1266. You're also invited to the Down East Senior Games, taking place May 2nd through May 24th. For more information on the games and to participate, call the Rocky Mount Senior Center at 252-972-1564. And we encourage everyone to support the Community Anti-Litter Coalition. The group's goals include heightening awareness about the litter issue in Rocky Mount. They also encourage the public to pick up the trash they find along the highways and local roads. So please, adopt a spot or get involved in programs like the North Carolina Big Sweep and more. For details, visit rockymountnc.gov/KAB, or you can call 252-467-4960. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of City Beat. And don't forget, if you want to learn more about events and initiatives, text City Beat, which is one word, to 55469. And don't forget to find out about things happening with the Rocky Mount Fire Department. Text RM Fire to 55469. I'm Tamika Keenan Norman, and we'll see you next week for more of City Beat.